Magandang araw at pagbati. Ako si Wensley M. Reyes, convener ng Manila Studies Program ng CES UP Manila. At malugod naming inihahandog sa inyo ang MNL o mga natatanging lektura. Halika, ating panoorin ang mga piling panayam upang mas pagyamanin pa ang ating kaalaman tungkol sa Araling Maynila.
Legalized in 1843, opium sales were restricted to the ethnic Chinese in Manila's Alcaceria de San Fernando. By 1898, as Chinese migration expanded, the business spread across nearly all Philippine sub-provinces. This is the world IAS stepped into.
Magandang araw sa lahat at welcome sa MNL 2025 Mga Natatanging Lektura. Sa pagbabalik ng sering ito na hatid ng Manila Studies Program o MSP ng Kolehiyo ng Agham at Sining, Universidad ng Pilipinas, Maynila, samahan niyo kaming tuklasin ang ilan pang mga pananaliksik tungkol sa Maynila. Ngayong araw, tayo ay sasamahan naman ni Professor Ferdinand Philip F. Victoria mula sa Mentari Intercultural School, Jakarta para talakayin si Ramon Ayenle ng Maynila at ang kalakalang opyo sa Pilipinas sa panahon ng kolonyalismong Espanyol. Ang ating tagapagsalita na si Ferdinand Philip F. Victoria is currently the Theory of Knowledge Coordinator at the Mentari Intercultural School, Jakarta, Indonesia. He obtained his BA History cum laude from UP Diliman and took up Indonesian Studies at Gajah Mada University. He joined the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs in 2000 and was assigned Vice Consul at the Philippine Consulate General Sydney from 2003 to 2008. He has published studies on the history of the opium traffic in colonial Philippines, Tan Malacca, and Jose Rizal. Ating subaybayan ang kanyang presentasyong pinamagatang The Real Asiento de Opio as Business, Ramon Ayenle of Manila and the Politics of Opium Revenue Extraction in the Late Spanish Philippines.
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. I'm delighted to present a short but compelling look into the career of Ramon Ayeye of Manila, a key figure in the colonial opium business. For 25 years, Ayeye and his partners dominated the Manila opium contract, the largest and most profitable in the colony. His story reveals how a Philippines-born Spaniard, an Espanol Filipino, successfully navigated a complex business landscape that was typically reserved for ethnic Chinese merchants. Let's start with context. Opium revenue farming was a tax strategy used by governments with limited administrative capability. It involved auctioning the right to import, process, and sell opium for smoking in designated areas. These exclusive contracts were a form of outsourcing, transferring the sovereign right of taxation to private entrepreneurs. Similar tax farms were cockpits, billiards, and slaughterhouses. The opium farm was formerly called the Real Asiento de Opio, a name that suggested endorsement from Madrid. Locally, however, people referred to it as the Contrata de Anfion or Pabuwisan ng Hithitan ng Apian, with Apian being the Philippine term for smoked opium. Legalized in 1843, opium sales were restricted to the ethnic Chinese in Manila's Alcaceria de San Fernando. By 1898, as Chinese migration expanded, the business spread across nearly all Philippine sub-provinces. This is the world IAS stepped into. Ramon Felipe Burgos Ayeye was born in Manila in 1838 to Spanish and Filipino parents. He was a cousin of the nationalist priest, Father Jose Burgos. Ayeye worked with the Central Board of Monopolies and the Lottery Office in the 1860s. He became wealthy through real estate, shipping, and his 1883 founding of the La Maria Cristina Cigar Factory. He held posts in the Central Council for Agriculture, Industry, and Commerce and served on various boards, including the Chamber of Commerce and the Hospicio de San Jose. In 1889 and 1891, he became a regidor, or city councilor of Manila, influencing policy in areas such as finance and policing. In the 1896 revolution, he supported Spain and served as a colonel in the volunteer regiment. After retiring to Barcelona, he died in 1900. Now, on to the heart of his career. Ayala was the fourth holder of the Manila Contract and the third Espanol Filipino to do so. In 1871, he secured a massive seven-province block, including Manila, Cavite, Pampanga Bataan, Laguna Batangas, and Tayabas. For this, he paid 131,150 pesos annually, or nearly 400,000 for the 3 years. His role as contractor gave him the right to distribute processed opium or apian, sell licenses, and set prices. IA's greatest threat came from contraband, especially counter-farm opium, those legally sold in rival areas but smuggled into his own. He fought back with, number one, surveillance and appeals. He pushed for tighter regulation, even requesting cap procurement for rival contractors, like limiting them to 10 opium chests to reduce dumping. He flagged suspicious consumption patterns in adjacent provinces and urged simultaneous ledger inspections to catch discrepancies. He opposed splitting his existing blocks, such as Laguna Batangas in the early years, warning this would increase smuggling and reduce government revenue. He won that argument. Conversely, he advocating merging high smuggling zones like Bulacan province into his Manila contract. Consumers from Manila crossed into Bulacan for cheaper opium, so he argued for consolidation. The government, worried about the monopoly power, declined. Supply cooptation. Ayala became a subcontractor for farmers like Joaquin Tan Angco and Mariano Puasio. By becoming their opium supplier, he gained insight into sales data and smuggling trends, effectively turning competitors into informants. As a former official and city councilor controlling the colony's most valuable contract, Ayala had significant sway. He secured an exemption for a new 2% import tax to develop the Port of Manila by arguing this was not in the original contract. He also warned the Governor General that rampant smuggling could push legitimate contractors to default, with disastrous financial consequences for the state. His persistent reporting of anomalies also led to official investigations, keeping rivals in check. To guard against financial and operational risks, Ayala founded Ayala Compañía in the 1890s. His partners include Matias Lecaro Sanz de Vesmanos and Carlos Palanca Chan Qianshan, the most powerful Chinese merchant in Manila. Palanca's role was critical in providing access to Chinese networks, handling smuggling charges, and bringing influence to the table. The company also oversaw contracts of other farmers, such as Juan and Ramon Berzosa, Emilio Cotinco, and possibly acting as IAS proxies. Everything changed in the 1896 revolution. As Chinese consumers fled war zones, the company sought contract cancellations due to unpaid dues. The government allowed it, recognizing the disruption. Though Ayala diversified through ventures like his cigar factory and his direct role in the opium business, however, waned. His company continued to manage assets even after his death. In closing, Ramon Ayala's career is a study in adaptation. He thrived in a competitive and morally fraught industry by weaving together expertise, strategic partnerships, and political clout. His success in controlling and defending an opium empire reminds us that colonial commerce was just as much about influence as it was about supply and demand. Even a venture built on addiction required brilliance, agility, and grit to survive. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po, Professor Victoria, sa isang komprehensibong pagtatalakay sa politika ng kalakalang opyo sa Pilipinas at ang naging gampani ni Ramon Allende ng Maynila sa negosyong ito.
Ang MNL 2025, Mga Natatanging Lektura, ay isang lecture series na hatid ng Manila Studies Program o MSP, ang Regional Study Center na nakabase sa Kolehiyo ng Agham at Sining sa Universidad ng Pilipinas, Maynila. Ang MSP ay tinatag upang magtaguyod ng mga pag-aaral at pananaliksik tungkol sa iba't ibang aspeto ng Maynila at kinabibilangang rehiyon nito. Sa mga nakaraang taon, sa pamamagitan ng MNL Mga Natatanging Lektura Series, tayo ay nakapagtalakay ng iba't ibang paksa tungkol sa Maynila. Maaari niyong panoorin ang mga nakaraang episode ng MNL sa pamamagitan ng pag-scan ng QR code na may kita sa inyong mga screen. Ang mga link ng mga episodes ng MNL ay may kita niyo rin sa description box ng video na ito. Maaari nyo ring bisitahin ang aming official YouTube channel at UPM CAS MSP. Maraming salamat sa panonood at kita-kits sa susunod na episode ng MNL 2025 Mga Natatanging Lektura.